What are their
Yeah,
bosses calling them about after hours? Is it onerous? Does it really add as much stress as the Greens are saying?
certainly the people in our focus groups that are talking to us about this saying, yeah, it does. It does cause a significant stress, even if it's just having something nagging away at the bottom of your mind that, the boss has contacted you after hours saying, tomorrow I want you to get on this when you come in. We need to work on this. We need to work on that. You're thinking about it. You're thinking it's an intrusion into that the disconnection that you'd like to be able to spend on your family and focus on your family's time. So it's it's part of a broader sense of disempowerment in the workplace. Part of a broader sense that, whether it's my wages aren't going anywhere, whether it's my if I'm on sort of contract casual work, my sense of security that the job's going to be there tomorrow, that my hours are going to be there next week. It's all part of this deeper sense of vulnerability. And it's an important part of it, but it's just part of this deeper sense of vulnerability.
Right, that's fascinating. So from your assessment and seeing the reaction from these focus groups this week, is this a vote changing issue or is it just a vote framing issue?
I think that's really interesting. I think certainly what it's doing, I think if we look at it in the immediate term, I think what's happened is an issue like this coupled with stage 3 tax cuts in those outer suburban areas that the Liberals were going after, is it certainly halted their momentum. And we're starting to see this in our polling now. The numbers for Labor are sort of stabilising. Whether they're starting to recover or not I think is a different question. I think there's probably more water to go under the bridge, and Labor will still need to do more to sort of gain back some of that ground that's lost. But it's certainly stabilised that vote. And what it gives Labor is it gives them a defensive line. So going into the next election, if the Libs stick on their position on this particular issue that they've already stated, people are far more sensitive to perceived losses than they are to perceived gains.
Yes.
So it gives Labor a defensive line to be able to say, if these guys are elected, they're going to take away your right to disconnect. They're going to give your boss back the right to discipline or sack you. They will talk about sacking you.
Right. So that's why negative campaigns work.
That's correct. That's correct. We are far more attuned to losing things than we are to gaining things. And, there's a bit of a healthy Aussie skepticism in that, when a politician promises to give us something, we don't believe it as much as when they promise to take something away from us.
Well, a good reminder, right? Just with the stage 3 tax cuts, well, until circumstances change. I should just quickly ask about negative gearing. Have you asked any of the groups about this?
Yeah, we've done a fair bit on negative over years, and some recent polling data around that. It'd be a brave minister, it'd be a brave prime minister that would take on negative gearing.
Why do you say that?
There is still a fairly broad base of support for it. It is one area where, despite some of these sort of class-based, if I can use that word, kind of tensions that we're seeing, and the ability to exploit that through things like right to disconnect. Negative gearing seems to be this stubborn area of public opinion where there's sort of like people feel uncomfortable, again, loss aversion, people feel uncomfortable about those sorts of things being taken away. And even amongst renters, you still see aversion to it because the logic is anything that makes life more difficult for my landlord ends up making life more difficult for me. So the politics on that aren't clear cut. And as I say, there's sort of this sort of sense of favourability to negative gearing that seems to persist despite efforts to the contrary.
So essentially, if any government was going to do anything about negative gearing, it'd have to be part of a package, a quid pro quo, if you like.
Yeah, look, if I were advising them, I'd say make it part of a reform package that comes after the election. Save it for your second term, sort of year and a half in kind of thing, because it's not an electoral winner. Certainly in the same way that giving people tax cuts, and certainly in the same way of being able to paint your opposition in a particular box like right to disconnect has given Labor an opportunity.
Fascinating as always, Simon. Good to see you. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Laura.